Mayor proposed is $395,928. I am now down at school receipts. 52,000. I'm moving down to state aid and grants. Total is 11,175,732. We have a total revenue of 129,514,911. Now moving on to expenditures. General fund expenditures. Total town departments proposed by the mayor is 15,841,162. Total public safety proposed by the mayor, 11,641,349. I'm now down at information technology proposed by the mayor, 368,984. I'm down at total fringe. Proposed by the mayor for 2027 is $5,163,300. Total town council proposed by the mayor, $124,121. Total boards and commissions proposed by the mayor for 2027 is $27,835. Still on expenditures. I'm at total community outreach proposed by the mayor for 2027 is $123,000. Total town general expenses proposed by the mayor for 2027 is $1,431,225. Total town debt service proposed for 2027 by the mayor is $9,562,622. Total town is $44,283,598. And the total general fund proposed for 2027 by the mayor is $129,514,911. Did I? Thank you. I'm going to go up one more line. Age. I missed 5,231,313. That's total school department. 85,231,313. Again, I'm going to go back to total is $129,514,911. Thank you. Okay, before we, the next one will be, yes, Mr. Thornton.
Good evening, President Kinch, council members, Mr. Mayor, good evening. So tonight I have just 4 brief slides to kind of help me with my remarks. I'm happy to answer what you may have. Talking about funding, I would start things off with enrollment, because with enrollment comes state aids. And this sheet is from NESDEC, the company that does our projections. Here you see the projections over the next 10 years for Cumberland. Now, Cumberland is one of 4 districts gaining students year over year. Most towns are losing kids. We're gaining kids, and that's a good thing because as you gain kids, more state aid comes in. This year we're in right now, we're around plus 30, and that equals around $2 million. Now, the whole formula is called a quadratic, kind of complicated. There's a poverty factor, there's a special ed factor. Just for simplicity's sake, 30 kids equal $2 million, okay? Next year, if you go the year after, we're going to gain around 25, give or take, then 88, 48, 48, 64. The good news is state aid will keep coming in to help us with all of our funding issues. So I thought it was important to share that. Also, in the state aid, I should tell you, I told the folks last night at the fiscal sub meeting, State aid may get updated as early as the end of this week or next week. And there is talk of increasing state aid in two areas. First, in the poverty area, it's called student success, and they're going to change the formula. And also high cost special education. So it could be we get good news Friday or Monday on state aid. So keep tuned in for that. But I would say with state aid increasing, state aid alone can't keep districts afloat. We need local aid to kind of come with that. And that's why we're here tonight talking about the local aid. Sarah, next slide, please. In the next slide, I know Mayor and I talk about this a great deal. It's the per pupil expenditure in schools. It's how much we spend per child. And we've looked at it over the last 5 years. And you can see it from 2020 to 2024 up top, last 5 years. Cumberland is and has been always the lowest PPE in Rhode Island. That's not new news. The new news is we're in last, but we're falling further and further behind. You look in the upper left, we were very close to Barrington, 15.2 versus 15.2, really close, right? Look to the far right up top in 2024. We're around $2,000 behind second to last in Rhode Island. So what it tells you is we're just dropping off like that. Now go down the slide and look at it a different way. That's the average per pupil in Rhode Island versus Cumberland. Look at 2020. The average in Rhode Island was 18.4 and we were at 15. So the delta was around $3,000 less per child in Cumberland. Now look at 24. We're at $6,700 behind per child. So I would tell you, this is not sustainable. We're falling behind to the point now where we're starting to cut things. Hear more about that in a second. Next slide, Sarah. Looking at it another way, we made this slide in the winter, and it's funny how things change quickly. You see here, we had $17,000 per child. That was our Cumberland number in the winter. Now it's 16,887. It went down. Last time we talked about it with Mr. Shaw. How can a PPE go down? We get more kids in town, divide the kids by the funding, that's your PPE. We're getting more children, it's lowering our PPE. So you can see here, this just shows you 17,000 for Cumberland in this model, BVP's 20,000 per child. We would need 15 million to equal the level of funding that BVP gets. We would need $35 million to equal the average in Rhode Island. That's how stark it is. Now, I know in saying this, the numbers are daunting, I get it, but to me, I think we need a plan, like a multi-year plan to locally fund schools to keep us in the game, if you will. Right now, it is concerning where we are cutting things. And my last slide, Sarah, if you could. This is another slide I like to show often. Ryan puts this out and it kind of illustrates everything to me. If you look at this, and folks in the back probably can't see it, those dots represent all the towns in Rhode Island. And the axis going from the bottom to the top is test scores, higher being higher on the scale. Left to right is cost per child. There are 4 quadrants. The bottom right quadrant is where you don't want to be. That means you're expensive and low scoring on state testing. Cumberland is in what they call the quadrant of success, or upper left corner, and we're all the way to the left. Now, I would tell you that's 2024. It's 2 years old with UCOA. It was 26, would be off the chart because now we're 16.8 a child. That's how far over to the left we are. I think right now, I would say we are at what I would call a tipping point. We've used things before to help. We've used fund balance. We defer to raise once. When folks retire in Cumberland, they get a raise payout if they retire. We did that 1 year. We have less personnel in Cumberland than other towns. And it's a good stat that Rye puts out. It says, on average, in Rhode Island, there's 1 teacher for about 9.5 students on average. Any human being, any human paraprofessional teacher, 1 for 9.5. Cumberland is 1 for 11. You would think that's not a big deal. 1.5 differential. What does that matter? Take Cumberland's 5,000 some odd kids, divide 5,000 by the statewide standard of 9.5. You get like 526 adults, right? Put that over here, 526. Now divide 5,000 by the Cumberland 11. You get like 454, I think. It's a 72 person differential. So on average, we have 72 less adults than most districts. That's why I would tell you we're already pretty clean. Admin wise, another stat quickly. I know some folks want to cut administration always. That's pretty popular. The stat in Rhode Island is 1 admin for 600 kids. Cumberland, we're at 1 in 1,200. So we are pretty tight already. Before the budget came to the mayor's office, we already cut 7.5 positions. And right now, this budget was to go forward, we'd have to cut the equivalent of 9 more jobs or something equal that number, around 900 something thousand dollars. So I know you're probably asking, so what are you asking for? My ask tonight is for you to please consider funding something called the Essentials Program. Basically, we have a team of teachers. We have 12 teachers, at 12 right now, that work in the middle schools to help kids achieve. And we started it in 2021. It's made a huge difference. McCourt, where we are right now, this past year, McCourt's scores jumped a lot. In ELA, we gained 12 points, math around 8 or 9 points. Is it just essentials? No, it's the whole building, but essentials are a key part of this. So reluctantly, when I put the budget of the council to the school committee, I recommended they cut it 4 essentials. We have 8 left right now. If this budget goes forward, I'm recommending they cut 6 more. They may or may not do that, but I would ask you to consider funding the essentials. It's around $93,000 per, so it'd be $558,000 is my ask. If you combine the 553 with the 243K in the budget, it's a 1.6% ask for the council. So that's what I would ask you to consider to fund the 558 for the essentials, and also certainly talk about a conversation for a multi-year plan locally. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Any members of the council have any questions for the superintendent? No. Thank you. I'm sorry. Counselor Shaw, one more.
Dr. Thorne. Dr. Thorne, so all right, so the Essentials Program, this was the program that was brought forth for stop loss learning that after the COVID time, correct?
Yes, 2021.
2021, and just for background sake, you guys hired 20 at the time.
Around 20 at the time.
And right now we're holding at, it's 12, not 11?
We have 12 essentials
Okay, and
right now.
and
Budget.
and we know that the Essentials Program is making an impact where back then we didn't know. It was a gamble of, in the sense of that we're putting money into a program like we do a lot of other programs throughout the time, but we know for a fact that this is a huge impact, not just for getting out of COVID, but for helping those that are not meeting grade level.
Yeah. I would say yes, but don't take it from me. It's folks that will probably speak more in detail on it after me. But to me, from the outside looking in at the buildings, it's made a huge difference.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Mayor Mutter, do you want to comment before we go to the public?
Mr. President. Thank you. Is it all? Testing. Mr. President, if you could oblige, I think there's a lot of people that'd like to make some public comment based on Dr. Thornton's presentation, and I'd ask to be able to make my presentation after the public comment. Thank you.
I certainly will. Okay, so if anybody would like to address the council on this ordinance 2612, please again, state your name and address at the podium, and you could write it down if you wouldn't mind. And we are trying to stay at 3 minutes.
Still lower than.
Thank you.
Height is not my gift.
Yeah.
Welcome, Chairwoman.
Amy Vogel, 10 Wampum Trail, Cumberland, Rhode Island. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak this evening. I do not typically advocate in this way, but tonight I feel compelled to because of the overwhelming outreach from parents, students, educators, and community stakeholders who are deeply concerned about the future of our students. As a member and chair of the school committee, every decision I make must keep students at the center. Tonight, I stand before you doing exactly that. I'm here to express my concerns about the possibility of completely eliminating the Essentials Program at the middle school level, a critical Tier 2 intervention that has changed the trajectory of so many students' academic success. This program is not simply another line item in a budget, but an intentional educational support to help students succeed. These are real students with real outcomes. I understand that the school committee and school department ultimately must make the difficult decisions regarding budget reductions, However, none of these choices are easy or without consequence. With Cumberland already operating at the lowest per pupil expenditure in the state, there is little to no flexibility remaining in the budget without directly impacting student programs, student services, and student outcomes. Even with the school department's proposed budget submitted to the town, difficult reductions have already been made, with eliminating 4 of the 12 teaching positions, a 33% reduction to this program. Those cuts alone will have an impact, but possibly having to eliminate the essentials program entirely would be devastating and would roll back and reverse years of academic progress many have worked so hard to achieve here in Cumberland. The data speaks for itself. We have seen remarkable gains in RICAS scores, improved student performance, increased student confidence, and stronger academic engagement because of this program. These students are succeeding because we all have invested in them and believed in them. And tonight, I'm asking you to continue to do this. At this time, the schools are projected to receive $243,000 in additional funding, which we truly appreciate. However, the school department requested just over $2 million, which means less than half the identified needs are being funded. I understand and fully recognize the financial challenges facing the town. I truly do, and I do not underestimate how difficult these decisions are. But I am respectfully and passionately asking the town council to consider an additional $558,000 to preserve the remaining 8 essentials teachers at the middle school. Because this investment is not just about staffing, it's about whether students feel seen, supported, and valued. Whether we preserve programs like Essentials, we are sending a message to our students in Cumberland and that we believe in them and we refuse to let them fall behind. We cannot afford to move backwards academically, especially when students depend on us, and Cumberland has come so far. Please help us support this program and continue the progress of the students. Thank you for your time, your service, and for listening to tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hi, Carrie Smith, 133 Bear Hill Road, and I am the vice chair of the school committee, as we know. I'm not going to regurgitate anything that's been said to you on the essentials. I voted against the budget to begin with, wanted the 4% increase, but could not justify cutting any essential program. And here we are looking to possibly cut it even further. So I'm going to leave it to the chair and how she so nicely put it and the importance of that. I want to concentrate on some of the numbers. So I know that we came in and asked for the 2 million. Right now it's proposed at 243,000, not the 2 million that we're looking for. I understand that there is a master lease of 890,000 that the mayor has potentially put aside to pick up for us, but that is not part of the MOE. Okay, that can go away at any time, and then we're stuck trying to find $890,000 more to support these students. Where else are we going to continue to cut? We've used our fund balance. We've said it for several years. We're in trouble. We're running out of fund balances to use, but we understood we needed to do that because the times were tough in the entire town. The state has a budget proposal in front of them on a new way to look at how to fund all the schools in all the towns, right? So they're looking at a whole new formula. It was done with Rhode Island Foundation and with many, many other parties. Brown University was involved as well. They had student involvement, parent involvement, school involvements, and they've come up with a new formula that's based upon the amount of tax from personal and commercial that a town can achieve. It's not saying that the town has to go in and set a tax rate equal throughout all the towns and cities, but it looks at each town individually and it says what has to happen. In that, the state is looking to take on busing and our special needs students and some of those high costs. The state proposal puts them at 58% of the budget for schools in each town and city. That means the remainder of it goes to the towns or the cities to come up with the numbers. Right now, the state aid for Cumberland is at about 35%. So this is fantastic. If they go to 58%, it's going to help us. However, under the formula and the way that they're looking at it, based upon the numbers from 2024, which we know have only gotten worse, Cumberland, in order to meet the new requirement that will go in, and there will be penalties to the towns if they don't meet it if this passes, Cumberland needs $8.2 million from the town to fund the schools. The state is going to put in an additional 22 million. They're looking for the town to put in another 8.2. They want this to pass and they want to phase it in by 2030. So we have a real problem on our hands that we need to look forward to. And not just do this on individual levels. Cutting that 890,000 from a budget, lowering our proposal is only going to be detrimental for everyone in the town. Because at some point, if the state passes this and it goes forward, we're going to have to raise property taxes and you're gonna go above the 3% or 4% to do it to meet the new requirement. I don't think any of us want to see that happen. We've got to stop phasing this in now. The other thing I want to mention, 56 new students. I did it at 17,000 per student. That's $952,000 that we've had to put into our budget. Okay? If we're looking at the state taking 35% of that 952,000, we would be needing the rest from our town, not from the state. That's nowhere close to the 243,000 that's being proposed. This 243,000 just isn't even covering new students. We have an issue. Our town is going to continue to grow in its student population as elderly are selling their house and more families are moving in. And there's much more construction coming from behind it. We have to start addressing this now. We cannot keep shortchanging our students. We need to do something about it now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ma'am,
I just want to, I do want to clarify on the master lease. So there is no possibility that the master lease would go away. That is projected in part of the budget solution. You only have to look at resolution 15-28, which was for Chromebooks back in 2015, and we did one in 20-97. So that was in 2020. If you look at your general fund budget, you see under the school department, school master leases, town has never reneged on that expenditure, nor do I think it would ever do so. So to categorize that as going away, I think is not true. And if anyone thinks that you can raise $7 million to the school department and not go over the 4%, then I can tell you right now, 4% levy will get you $3.1 million. If you need 7 million, you do the math, you're at least 10. You're at least 10%. It is impossible to fund $7 million and stay within the state levy cap. Any insinuation that that's possible is, just it is not possible. And if someone has, I welcome Ms. Smith to provide an example in which it is possible. Thank you.
thank you.
Just to clarify,
Cool.
that 890,000 is not part of the MOE. So that means that you're taking care of a master lease. And when that's done, we still have a shortfall to fill the 890,000 into our students. That's what I'm talking about there, that it'll eventually, the master lease will go away, but where's the other 890,000 that we're going to use from not paying that master lease that we're going to use for students? Where are we going to make that up? And the other part is that 8.2 million is the projection to start building to get to the 2030 is what the state is proposing. That towns start incrementally building it now to get to it. It's not looking at a 10% or a 20% increase across all the towns. It's saying you need to start planning now for that, to start building and getting closer to the number for the 2030 year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mayor Muddle.
just, I don't want to go back and forth, but the Chromebook master lease is probably a perpetual. There was one in 2015, there's one in 2020, it's 2026. So, as far as losing the 800 or whatever the number is, it was always planned that they would have a certain lifespan and that you would revisit the master lease, and that's what we've done. I will reiterate, however, I know 2030, it could be 2035, it could be 2045. You're not going to reach that number and not go over 4%. You cannot borrow $140 million to build a brand new school and revamp all your elementary schools and think you can do it under 4% in a growing town. And I'm going to talk about that when I get, to the presentation, but let's not you know, you're either, if you want to get to that number, you have to be honest enough to admit that it's going to be over the 4% and significantly over the 4%. You know, I'm not getting into whether or not we should, you know, but to say that you can do it and you can plan for it and not go with the 4%, that is impossible unless you want to get rid of another department. You know, if you want to get rid of the police department, if you want to get rid of the highway department, you know, something like that, it would have to be a sizable department. Other than that, it is impossible to get there without going over the 4%. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Shay, 25 Park Street, Cumberland.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Tom Shay. I live at 25 Park Street here in Cumberland. And I'm the council in 3004. I know I live with people. I wanted to speak tonight because I am.
Just,
I know. I wanted to speak tonight because I am an essential student and these classes have not been lost both in math and ELA. Before being in essentials, there are times I feel frustrated and overwhelmed and hate because I learn differently than other students. Sometimes I need things explained to me. I need extra help understanding things. Sometimes kids can small groups support exercise to ask questions and teachers who help me build competence instead of feeling embarrassed to ask for help. In math essentials, I improved my understanding and feel more confident participating in class and trying harder problems. In ELA essentials, I've become a stronger reader and writer and feel more confident expressing my thoughts and understanding what I read. Most importantly, essentials have helped me believe in myself. I know schools and towns are having to make hard decisions, but I want to say these teachers are not just members, they help students like me every single day and they work very hard. There are many students on the course who benefit from these classes, even if they may not be too nervous to stand here tonight and say, I'm asking the school committee and town council to please work together. Please find the money we need. Please consider the impact these jobs have on students like me, our futures, and continue giving us the support we need. Thank you.
My name is Faye Enright. My address is 19 Vista Drive in Lincoln. I am the CTA president. And good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Town Council. In an August 2019 edition of the Valley Breeze, then Superintendent Robert Mitchell was quoted as saying, "The focus of the district's attention will turn more sharply this year to Tier 2 students." In that same year, 2019, according to RIDE, the total number of dropouts in Cumberland High School was 60 students. In 2023, 23 students, and in 2025, only 16 students. While having those Tier 2 interventions at the middle school level may not be the only factor in improving dropout rates, they are definitely a factor. As you review the budget, it can be easy to view line items as mere numbers. But in education, cutting a program doesn't just reduce the balance sheet. It alters a child's life trajectory. Tier 2 is the critical safety net for students who are not meeting grade level expectations but do not qualify for certs, as you well know. And middle school is the absolute crossroads of a student's academic life. It is where curriculum accelerates and where the social and emotional pressures of adolescence peak. If a student begins to drown in 6th or 7th grade and we do not provide a lifeline, they simply cannot catch up on their own. They become the Tier 3 crisis of tomorrow, and they become the high school dropout statistics of the future. Investing in Tier 2 interventions right now is the most fiscally responsible decision this council can make. It is a proven preventive measure. By funding interventionalists, reading specialists, and targeted math and ELA programs at the middle school level, we catch students before they fall into costlier, more intensive special education tracks, which may or may not help them to avoid dropping out. Finally, the X Factor. The teachers in this district are some of the best in the state. Their efforts have kept Cumberland students in that quadrant 1 that superintendent talked about with RICAS scores despite a considerable gap in that PPE that people keep talking about, compared with other high-performing districts. CTA members live in this. Their children go to these schools. They see firsthand the look of relief on a student's face when an interventionist finally helps a difficult concept click. They also know that the heartbreak of watching a student completely disengaged because they lacked the extra 50 minutes of targeted support they needed to understand the lesson. Our students deserve to have their school properly funded with the resources that ensure their continued growth and success. We cannot afford to lose these programs. We urge the mayor and the town council to stand united with the school committee's budget proposal. Please protect our tier 2 middle school interventions. Do not pull the safety net out from under our kids when they need it the most. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Good evening, welcome.
Cheyenne Terry and 15 Brander Road, Rehoboth. My name is Cheyenne Terrian. I have taught across a wide range of grades and skill levels from 6th grade ELA Essentials to 11th grade AP Language. For over 3 years now, I have been devoted to the ELA Essentials program at McCourt Middle School. I had been in my 2nd year of teaching 9th grade English when I saw the listing for an ELA Essentials position. During my time teaching 9th grade, I kept asking myself what I could do to help close the skill gaps I was seeing. I saw students struggling with basic concepts, their reading comprehension far below grade level, and having difficulty structuring essays. I would quite literally spend hours brainstorming whether something could be done at the middle school level to assist students in entering high school ready and capable. But it turns out Cumberland had asked those same questions and was already doing something about it. The most important thing about ELA Essentials is that it is ever evolving. The purpose of this class is to assist students in their growth to proficiency, but students' needs shift throughout the year and from student to student. While I have taught ELA Essentials for the last 4 school years, I have never taught it exactly the same. I track student data diligently to ensure that the students are gaining the skills they need to reach proficiency. Instead of letting the curriculum sit stagnant, the ELA Essentials department as a whole meets consistently throughout the year to make these adjustments and discuss what we are seeing with our students. Providing individualized support isn't just important to us, it is a core principle. As I previously stated, I am diligent about my data tracking, which my admin appreciates. It helps me keep track of what skills are sticking with students, but it also helps me understand how effective I am as an educator. Today, I'm hoping it proves to you how successful the ELA Essentials program has been. Last year, I taught 40 out of the 56 students in the 7th grade ELA Essentials program at McCourt. Of the 40 students I had as 7th graders last year, only 18 of them needed to continue into the ELA Essentials for their 8th grade year, meaning that 55% of my students gained proficiency and were able to be promoted out of the ELA Essentials program. Of those students who stayed in ELA Essentials, 50% showed growth in their RICAS scores, and more than half of those that showed growth rose between 10 and 20 points on RICAS. This goes without saying, but that is an incredible feat. Cumberland has already proven their dedication to their children and the future of their town by taking the initiative to develop the Essentials program in the first place. Please consider making a decision that continues to keep student learning and achievement a central priority.
Thank you. Thank you. Nicely done.
Hello,
Good evening.
Lori Lang, 459 Rocky Hill Road, Situate. My name is Lori Lang, and I've worked at North Cumberland Middle School for the last 18 years. 15 as a core ELA teacher, and the last 3 as an ELA Essentials teacher. In both roles, I have personally seen the incredible impact that the ELA Essentials program has had on student learning. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposed cuts to the ELA Essentials program at both middle schools. My fellow teachers and I do not support this detrimental cut for our students. For those of you who may not know what the Essentials program is, it's a Tier 2 intervention and support class designed to help students who are near proficiency but need additional support to build and strengthen reading and writing skills. The classes are small, 12 to 15 students at the most, allowing students to have a safe space to take risks and build confidence. I have seen the students thrive in this atmosphere. Reluctant learners who might shy away from participating in larger classroom settings often find the confidence to take risks and fully engage in their learning in the small group. For a struggling student, this shift is significant and serves to greatly accelerate their academic growth. On average, each year, North Cumberland Middle School provides this support to approximately 145 students in grades 6 through 8. With the 2 middle schools combined, that's up to 250 to 300 students per year who are greatly impacted by the ELA Essentials program alone. That number does not include the Math Essentials program. And the data tells the story. For example, last year's RICAS data shows impressive increases in students' growth due to the ELA Essentials program. The data shows that 50% of the students at North Cumberland Middle School in grades 6 through 8 had a high growth rate, not a typical growth rate, but high. Also, 42% of the 6th grade students in ELA Essentials at North Cumberland Middle School crossed the line to meeting proficiency by the end of their 6th grade school year. The data is impressive. By helping more students achieve high growth, the Essentials program closes achievement gaps and ensures that all students have the opportunity to succeed. The town has made a substantial investment in building and tailoring this program. The teachers are trained to do their job well. The Essentials program began in 2019 to provide Tier 2 students with the support they need, and clearly it works. Why would we want to go back to not having this support for our students? My co-teachers and I respectfully request your support at the town level to keep this program for our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Christine Holman. I am the current assistant principal at McCourt, but will be the principal as of July 1.
Congratulations.
I live at 133 Russell Drive, Tiverton, Rhode Island. Good evening, members of the Town Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight about the upcoming school budget and the proposed reduction to Tier 1 instructional supports. I appreciate the difficult financial decision before you, and I ask that you consider the long-term impact that cuts could have on our students, educators, and community. Tier 2 interventions are not supplemental luxuries. They are essential academic supports for students. Well done, Dom. Who are struggling in ELA and math. These programs provide targeted instruction that helps students close learning gaps before they become long-term barriers to success. Over the past several years, our schools have worked diligently to address significant academic disruptions and widening achievement gaps. The staff members who provide these interventions have built meaningful systems of support, developed strong relationships with students, and contributed measurable progress in student growth and confidence. Eliminating these positions now risks undoing much of that progress. When students receive timely intervention, reading and math deficiencies are identified earlier. Students are less likely to fall further behind academically. Classroom teachers are better supported in meeting diverse learning needs. Students experience improved confidence, engagement, and school attendance. Long-term costs associated with remediation and more intensive services are reduced. Conversely, reducing Tier 2 supports may create large challenges in the future. Students who do not receive intervention often require more intensive and costly supports later on. Preventative investment is both educationally responsible and fiscally prudent. These cuts would also directly affect dedicated work often happens quietly, but its impact is seen every day in student achievement, classroom participation, and emotional well-being. Our community has consistently expressed that education is a priority. Supporting our schools means supporting the future workforce, economic strength, and overall health of our town. Strong schools strengthen property value, attract families, as we know, and contribute to thriving communities. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Evening.
Hi, good evening to you.
I'm Caitlin Prosnitz. I'm at 7 Sylvia Lane in Lincoln. I am a math essentials teacher at North Cumberland Middle School, and I wanted to speak briefly about the success and importance of Cumberland's math and ELA essentials program using the RICAS data pulled from RIDE. I know we wanted to see some proven reason to believe that it actually is helping. The success of any educational program should be measured by student growth, especially for students who begin behind their peers. When students are making meaningful progress over time, it shows the support systems in place are working and helping them move toward greater independence and achievement. Over the past 3 years, I've aggregated all the data from 2022. More than half of Math Essential students at North Cumberland achieved high growth, 52%, compared to just 37% of their peers. Only 16% of Math Essential students were in the low growth category, compared to 29% of the non-essential students. ELA Essential students also excel. Over the past 3 years, 49% achieved high growth, compared to 39% of non-essential students. And only 18% of ELA Essential students were in the low growth category, compared to 26% of non-essential students. These results are based on hundreds of students over those 3 years, showing that the programs are effective at scale. Essentials programs help more students excel and reduce the number who struggle. The percentage of students with low growth is significantly lower in essentials, meaning fewer students are falling behind. As a parent, I see firsthand how much essentials benefits our students. My own child, who struggles with ELA and math, and I don't live in the district, but he would thrive in a program like this. I have even considered transferring him to North Cumberland from my district so that he could receive the same support that he's not currently getting. As a teacher who works closely with struggling students, it is heartbreaking to see them potentially lose the support that they clearly need to succeed. I am constantly pushing my students, as well as lamenting with their frustration and celebrating their successes alongside them. So many of my students are excited to come tell me when they've done well on a test or understood something in class because of what we worked on in Math Essential. Without the extra time and space to learn and process essential content, many students are far more likely to lose confidence in themselves, experience stalled academic growth, and fall through the cracks. The data is clear. Our essentials programs make a measurable difference in student growth and achievement. Cutting these programs would risk leaving more students behind. I urge the council to continue supporting math and ELA essentials as a vital investment in our children's future and our community's success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jillian Belanger. I live in East Providence, but I work as the multilingual learner coordinator for Cumberland. Thank you for listening to everyone tonight, and thank you for doing the difficult but important job of making decisions for Cumberland and the people who live here. I support Dr. Thornton's long-term recommendation for a multi-year plan to bring our per pupil funding in line with the rest of the state, and his short-term ask to save the Essentials program. It was Luau Day at the preschool today, hence the fit. One of 26 themed days to finish out the school year strong. As the MLO coordinator for the district, I'm very fortunate to see snapshots of all 9 schools throughout the year. And I wanted to share a little bit about how the school department is its own little ecosystem that lives inside the town. And there's literally always something happening. Just this week, Ashton has its spring concert tomorrow. B.F. Norton's kindergarten author night is tonight. Cumberland Hill, Garvin, and McCourt are all having MLL family nights tomorrow. Community's art show is tomorrow night. Both middle schools are hosting a welcoming 5th grade dance on Friday. And the high school had their athletic awards last night and has prom on Saturday. And that's just some of the things that are happening in our schools during this random 4-day week in May. The educators in these buildings make all that happen, on top of delivering high quality, differentiated instruction for all the students they see every day. All the kids in Cumberland whose childhoods and lives are being shaped by both the learning that they do and the activities that they get to participate in at their schools because of the work that these educators do to organize those things. Cutting 12 student-facing positions, which is what the school department is planning to do if the town does not fund the schools at the rate needed to prevent further gaps between us, the lowest funded district in the state, and the next lowest district, is not only devastating for the 12 hardworking teachers who would lose their jobs and the students who wouldn't get to benefit from those services. It also means that the people who coordinate the aforementioned events, in addition to being stellar at their jobs as teachers, will be stretched even thinner and will lose crucial colleagues who currently help create a tapestry of support for our students based on their needs. They are already making magic happen on a shoestring budget with a skeleton crew of 72 fewer adults than other districts proportionately, as Dr. Thornton mentioned. I completely understand your difficult position of protecting Cumberland's taxpayers while at the same time supporting our schools. And I hope that you will decide not to deepen the chasm between our funding amount per student and the rest of the state. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Rayo. I live at 7 Holman Drive here in Cumberland.
Welcome.
Thank you. As I said, my name is Tanya Rayo, and I'm here tonight as both a taxpayer and an educator. I've lived in Cumberland for 43 years, and I understand why many residents view tax increases negatively because they directly impact household budgets. I understand that perspective because I also pay taxes. In fact, I recently received my new tax bill and will be paying more this year. However, I choose to view those increases as an investment in our community and in the future of our schools, family, and town. Families consistently look for communities with strong schools when deciding where to live. Even residents without school-aged children benefit from high-quality school system because strong schools increase demand for homes, help stabilize neighborhoods, and contribute to the long-term economic strength of a community. Communities known for excellent schools tend to attract investment, maintain stronger property values, and recover more quickly during economic downturns. In my opinion, schools are one of the most important investments a community can make. I also speak to you tonight as someone who has dedicated 34 years to education in Cumberland. I spent 4 years serving as an academic coach at Joseph L. McCourt Middle School here. And in the last 4 years, I am the assistant principal at North Cumberland Middle School. During this time, I've seen firsthand the positive impact of Essentials program and what it has had on our students. I will not take your time by repeating many of the important points already shared this evening, but I do want to emphasize that eliminating an entire program will have lasting negative effects on both middle schools. Small group instruction is especially important at the middle school level because it allows teachers to meet diverse academic, social, and emotional needs of adolescents during a critical stage of development. In smaller learning environments, students are often more comfortable asking questions, participating in discussions, and taking academic risks they may avoid in larger classroom settings. This is typical of middle school. Small group instruction also allows teachers to provide targeted support, differentiate instruction, and give timely feedback that helps students build confidence and deepen understanding. At a time when middle school students are developing independence while navigating significant social and emotional changes, these personalized learning opportunities strengthen engagement, improve achievement, and foster meaningful relationships between students and teachers. Most importantly, the data presented this evening demonstrates the significant impact the Essentials program has had on student achievement here in Cumberland, especially at the middle level. We respectfully ask for your support in maintaining these student-facing teaching positions that have clearly made a meaningful difference for students at both middle schools. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Phil Eden, 1692 Kingstown Road in South Kingstown. I work for the National Education Association and represent the teachers and support staff in Cumberland. So I have a perspective of working with a lot of different districts in the state. And the message that I hope, I know you know, but want to emphasize is Cumberland has it really, really good in terms of the value that you get out of your employees. And that's the teachers who do a phenomenal job. It's also your custodians, your paras, your clerical folks. These folks all do more with less. They educate the students with fewer adults. They keep the buildings clean with fewer custodians for the size of the building than other districts. All of these folks are doing an incredible job. And this success is precarious. And I understand, obviously, I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer, the burden and the responsibility that you all have to make. I just hope that in this decision about this specific Essentials program and in all of your decisions going forwards, if we do not change course, things are going to take a turn for the worse because folks are burnt out. They've been doing more with less for a long time, and it just is not sustainable. So understanding that you can't get from where you are to the state median in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. And maybe that's not even desirable because you're getting such good value for what you have right now. But you need to start investing and making progress here. And if that means going to 4% every year for the next few years to try to catch up, that's what I think this town needs to do because the folks who work in these schools are incredible. They do incredible work. And we need to reward that and meet folks where they're at and help support them and provide them with the resources they need. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Hello, I'm Dylan Ang. I live at Fort Cohen Road in this town. I'm a school psychologist at BF Norton and also the preschool here. And I have to say, I'm feeling very moved tonight seeing all of the people who turned up here because these are all the people we have who, we all are here for one purpose because we care about this town. And that's why we're involved. And I feel like one of the big things about school that I always think about a lot, I see my kids as they walk down the street, I see them as they're riding their bikes. We are not just raising kids to know a lot of these core subjects, the ELA, the math, but ultimately, we're here to raise them up as citizens. And I have to say, I'm extremely inspired this year by the kids I have at BF Norton. We have some student ambassadors. There's 4 kids in particular who have been helping me out with the food pantry over there. they know who they are. And I see them sometimes when it's not school time, they're walking around, but just the passion they have, they come in every morning, they're asking like, is there anything more? They come with their big ideas. They want to go, they want to help this town. They want to see like what they can bring to these towns, these people. And having seen that, I see that passion of wanting to move forward. I feel like, I believe that, and I see the outcomes. I also see like with these essentials teachers here, they're the people who give these kids that foundation. These kids, they want to help, but this gives them that foundation so that they can move further, they can reach farther, they can make those big dreams that they have about Cumberland become a reality when they come back here. They're also the people who come here. They're the future of our town. They're the future of what we have, and I just see that passion that they have. They want to where they want to contribute, and I would like to keep that going for them, and I'd like to keep them reaching for those stars with these. And I think I perceive this essentials as the way that we can move forward here. A lot of these kids, they have the heart, they don't always have the foundation, and this foundation is going to give them what they need to raise our town. And with that, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good, thank you.
It's Audrey Lambert and I live at 26 Norman Street in Cumberland, Rhode Island. And again, my name is Audrey Lambert and I'm a senior at Cumberland High School. This past Monday, I published an article, a digital article from the Local Insider about the budget debate. And I felt it was necessary to stand here this evening and reiterate the ongoing issue that I and so many other students and staff have been experiencing and have been hoping to solve as well. At CHS, alongside being a student writer, I have also had the privilege of serving as president of both student government and the National Honor Society. And over the past 4 years, this school has given me so many opportunities to grow as a leader and make a meaningful impact within my community, whether through student government, student-led activities, or civic leadership. From this, I've built a foundation of personal success and strive to instill these same values into younger students, encouraging them to be as involved as possible throughout their own high school careers. That is why it is so difficult to watch our school begin to lose what once made it so special. It was a tough pill to swallow when I discovered that we have had the lowest per person expenditure of any district in the state. And as a result of this, we are losing valuable staff members who devote themselves to students and their needs. I mean, I can boast about my efforts in mentoring my peers all I want, but nothing I do will amount to what teachers do every single day. And still, they are given nothing in return. Instead of being compensated, teachers are stretched thin, their jobs are disappearing, and on the flip side, students are beginning to feel these effects everywhere. Teachers, clubs, and student-led events that once brought students a sense of belonging are now fading out because there simply isn't enough funding or support. I want to highlight an example that may seem small to some people, but is significant to a lot of my peers: graduation courts and stoles. Students work incredibly hard for honor societies, community service, and leadership programs, yet many are no longer recognized because courts cannot be afforded. Unfortunately, it sends the message that not only teachers, but now students are not being valued. This lack of funding hurts both sides. Teachers are being forced away from the schools they care so deeply for, while students who want to get involved are losing resources. Currently, high school programs like the Century Club, which prompts unity and responsibility in our school community, are lesser known now. Without programs like that, we lose the chance to connect students to something bigger than themselves. Ultimately, we are asking for an investment in students, teachers, and the potentials of our schools. We deserve the same prospects as students in other districts, and the future generations of Cumberland students deserve to experience the same support and kinship that us upperclassmen did. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Sophie Tebow, 100 Canning Street.
So, hi, I'm also a senior at Cumberland High School. I'm attending Wesleyan University in the fall, and I feel so beyond prepared because of my support in Cumberland these past 13 years. And as I prepared to graduate, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on what this school has meant to me. The school has given me some of the best friendships, memories, mentors, and opportunities that shaped who I am today. While I'm excited for my future, I'm also worried about the future of the school. So I have a younger brother who is currently a freshman at the high school. And when I look at him, I think about everything that I was lucky enough to experience over the past 4 years. And I push him to take part in everything that the high school has to offer. I want him to feel proud of the school the way I once did. I think about specifically the Essentials program very often, and even more specifically, the moment that my brother wrote his very first sentence because of the Essentials program, and how my mother cried because that program was changing his life in ways words couldn't fully explain. Those programs are not extras. They are a reason why many students gain confidence, find their voice, and realize that they are capable of much more than they ever believed. They shaped who he is becoming, but now with the reality that some of these essentials are being cut away, we're removing the programs that help students feel seen, supported, and successful. And we are cutting way more than classes. We are taking away opportunities, growth, and pieces of their future. On a broader note, throughout high school, I've had the opportunity to participate in school dances, student government, variety shows, school trips, and experiences that were only possible because of the dedication and support of our teachers and staff. These activities are far more than just events. They create memories, build leadership, strengthen friendships, and give students a reason to feel connected to their school. And when students feel connected to their school, they want to show up, they want to try, and grades will increase. When resources and teachers are cut, students lose access to these vital experiences that help shape who they are both inside and outside the classroom. Now, I'm speaking today not only for myself, but for every student sitting in the classrooms, every student who will walk through the doors in years to come, including people like my younger brother. They deserve a school that inspires them, supports them, has resources, and gives them every single opportunity to succeed. Every morning at the high school, we are told that it's a great day to be a Clipper, and that pride should not disappear because of budget cuts. A strong education should never depend on whether or not a school can or cannot afford it. If we deeply care about the future of our community and the future of our town, then we must be willing to invest in the students that are there to shape it. So I ask you all today to please invest in our students, invest in our teachers and our staff, invest in the future of our school, because when we invest in education, we invest in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, it's.
Good evening,
Good evening.
President, Mayor, council members. I'm Flynn Holmander. I live on 5 Bishop Drive and proud resident of Cumberland, Rhode Island. So coming up here today, I wish I could raise this mic a little bit. Have some assistance.
Let us get IT.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Sorry, I was bending down a little bit.
That's all right. You're doing fine.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So going into today, I sat here listening to all of our amazing teachers, school committee members, students here. Dominic, you did a great job. Proud of you, kid. That was amazing. That was amazing. I don't know a lot of students that would come up here and speak, especially at such a young age. Very proud of them. It was amazing. And today, I just want to come up here. Thank you guys first for your time. I had written up a whole speech about how I was going to talk about the air conditioning at Cumberland High School. Because recently, in these hot May days, we reached like 90-something degrees. And I'm sitting there in my Law and Society class, chugging water. I had a wife beater on. Took my sweatshirt off. It was so hot. And, I was just sitting there. I was struggling to learn. But honestly, there was something, after listening to everyone, there was something more important that I wanted to highlight tonight. So I actually put my phone away. I had a whole speech and I put my phone away and I said, I'm going to come up here, wing it, and speak straight from the heart. So my brother is a part of the special education program here at Cumberland High School. He is 21 years old and now is part of the trade program, which is wonderful. It's led by Tammy Lemieux at Cumberland High School. And I get to witness his everyday life all the time. I drive him and his friends around. I go visit him in class. They're always the happiest people in the school. They go to work and they're just like any other human being and they love their life. And it's amazing. It's truly inspirational. And I wanted to tie his youth years in education. He went to community. I've seen some amazing teachers here from community school who are behind me here. I haven't gotten a chance to say hi to them yet, but I'll say hi to them after. He also went to North Cumberland Middle School. And throughout his youth years, he had great assistants. Through all of his classes, maybe they weren't normal classes, as one would say. Maybe it wasn't in algebra. Maybe it wasn't a normal ELA, but he still wanted to learn. My brother wanted to learn just like any other normal student in Cumberland. And he had the chance to. He had the chance to learn and strive in all of his classes because of certain individuals. These certain individuals were academic coaches. Academic coaches, which is basically the sign of Essentials. This Essentials program here, which I am very grateful that I get to highlight how important it is. I was never a part of it, but seeing my brother and all of his friends throughout their youth years growing up through these amazing programs and needing that little extra push to strive as a student, it is truly inspirational. And I think that you guys should not cut this program. And I appreciate you guys. You guys try your hardest to work around the budget, but I think this program is a true backbone to our community. Our community here in Cumberland is amazing. You know, everyone knows each other, everyone loves each other, and every single kid counts. And we want to raise this community, be strong. I am a coach at Boys and Girls Club. And even when students may have they might be special needs, I can tell because my brother, and it warms my heart to see them. They still want to play basketball. They still want to play baseball. They still want to play football. They want to learn, just like these students who have essentials. They have these essential needs, and these teachers are amazing. Every single teacher behind me, every school committee member, they all work their hardest every single day to try to make us great students, not just students, but they want to make us great people, and they want to prepare us for our future. And maybe some kids need a little extra push, and that's why the Essentials program is so great. And I appreciate you guys for your time, and I hope that you guys don't cut the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Anyone else? Sarah, is anybody joining us virtually? No? Good. See going down this street. It's a tough act to follow, Mayor.
I was gonna say, it's like, first on Veterans Day, I have to follow that gentleman who does the Johnny Cash. And it's like, I want to take your spot, because I always have to follow him, and then I have to follow that gentleman, so just the way it goes, I guess. Let's move this just a little bit more.
I can get a phone book back here.
I get carried away, Mr. President. Jeff 112, Scotia Drive. I do want to say before I start, I appreciate, you know, all the speakers did a great job, but I do want to single out Ms. Lambert, who did have that op-ed, a letter to the editor, and that's a courageous thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do. And when you do something like that, you put yourself out there for, you know, for commentary, if you will. So, and you know, whether you saw it or not, I don't really pay a lot of attention to social media because it's just a distraction, actually. But I want to commend you for that. And what I'll say is that if you don't have any fans, you're not trying hard enough. So keep up the good work. So. All right, so we're going to go a very brief presentation, but just to revisit the town's ordinance so we have a self-imposed tax rate ordinance here in town that caps it at 3%. The state obviously has a 4% levy cap, so they're different, but just so you know, and that ordinance was actually passed by a lot of very honorable people back in 2004. And actually to date, it really has never been exceeded because last year, there was a reval year, so the rate was never going to go up. But to be transparent, had there not been a reval year, the 4% levy would have been a 3.5% tax rate. So this ordinance has been in place since 2004. It has never been, and I don't think it needs to be changed. There is a provision in the rate ordinance that is similar to the state's levy cap, which allows for you to go over 3% if your debt service experiences an increase in the debt service is what the town is obligated through borrowing, most through, if not all, through general obligation bonds that have been approved by the voters. So all those expenditures were approved at the voter level. And so as I said, this year it's at $1,047,000 increase from last year. All right, so I mean, I'm always a little, there's a lot of good work happening in Cumberland. I will say this, I do echo Mr. Eden's comments, about school staff, and I would say that staff throughout the town, but I also have to say that about administration. And there are members of the school administration that were there when I was on the school committee. And and that is a solid, and the new members as well, that is a solid group of admin, as well as I believe on the town side as well. So I do want to mention that. So I always say in town, I mean, we have an all paramedic EMS team, top school district, outstanding library, accredited police department, iconic open spaces and recreational spaces, and a lot of good work. And like I say, it's this is not because of me. I just think that overall, I think the town is in a good place. I often say that it's kind of this little sweet space and sweet spot, and the job is to not mess it up. A lot of good things happening here, and all the data would suggest that is true. I mean, as Dr. Thornton said, one of the few school districts where enrollment is not going down. We have it's a nice place to live, evidenced by people wanting to build everywhere they can to get in. So next. So how did we get here? So this is another one that, I think it's important to mention it, but so use of fund balance, housing aid, and cash flow. So when you use fund balance, which, back in the day, and I've been around a long time, so I'll say back in the day a bunch, but the big deal was, well, how come they're not using their fund balance, on the school side, right? And then when you do use your fund balance, everybody goes, oh my God, you used your fund balance, right? So the plan was to use it because you got your fund balance by having received revenues that you did not spend. That's how you got it, right? And so it's appropriate to use some of it. It was our plan with school administration to not use it as quickly as we did, but we did. So that's part of the equation. Housing aid, I do want to correct that middle slide that says inaccurate. That's really not true. I would say that in some cases, it just didn't come in as projected. Because any of those projections or what was handed out at the time, there's certain assumptions that are made, and if they don't come in, like substantially complete, and then the actual calculation of housing aid was, and I'm a math guy, but that one was a little tough, as Tim will attest to. And then, when you use fund balance to balance the budget, you are straining your cash flow. That is not, when we use fund balance, we are not going to some financial institution and taking the money out and paying somebody with it. It's really an accounting transaction. And that clearly shows up now with the town having to borrow $22 million and tax anticipation notes because of our unsynchronized system. When there were years when we didn't borrow any. Now, that was during COVID, but generally speaking, 12 million, somewhere around that. It's up to 22 million. And honestly, we can't borrow any more than 22 million because we can't pay it back. So we are at, we're at the limit as far as cash flow. So when you use your fund balance, you're just exacerbating that problem. So I skipped the page. All right, so I talked at the finance committee, and one of the most important things is to have new revenue. All new revenue support new spending. And when you are structurally unbalanced, your new revenue is replacing some old revenue you don't have anymore. So if you do a 4% tax levy and say it's $3 million, but you're relying on $1.2 million of fund balance that you don't have anymore, the net effect is $1.8 million, right? So clearly, we need to structurally balance the budget. The school departments project the budget that's in front of us right now is actually, at this moment, structurally balanced with no use of fund balance. Ours, however, is not, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, and then you just, rising costs, which everyone is aware of, right? And mostly on the healthcare, claims up on both sides, really high on the school side, and thankfully, we did go to a new vendor that allowed us to create a fund balance in that account, but the claims were so high that it has pretty much taken a good chunk of the fund balance as well. So that's in there. And then we have to keep an eye on the very near future, which is the BF Norton borrowing. And state aid to education, what happens with that? It's been good the last couple of years, but I've seen it where it wasn't so good, and so it is something that we need to consider. So when you're structurally balanced, you're better prepared for all those items in the future. So I will say that I deferred because I knew most of the discussion was going to be about the essentials and the ask for $558,000. So if you stick to a 3% tax rate, there's absolutely no way that, so the budget that I did present, and I wrestled back and forth with that, do I present one that's compliant with the ordinance, not counting the debt service, or do I not? I went back and forth, and I'm still not sure if I did the right thing, but at 3%, there's nothing to do. There is, the town's budget has layoffs and early retirements in it, first time in history. There is no new position on the town side. There are other assumptions in there that, may or may not come true. It's important to recognize that we don't set the levy for this budget until next April. So in some respects, that gives us an opportunity to see how the year turns out. If you have a winter like last year, not so good. You have a real nice winter, things look better, and there's other possibilities, right? But at 4%, which is, you would not need General Assembly approval, and you actually don't need to, you wouldn't be violating your ordinance because, as I said, and is up in the corner there, well, there's a structural deficit, but debt service is up $1 million. So you can go above the 3% because the $1 million is worth about 2.8%. So 1% is compliant with the ordinance. If you went to 4% and you made an assumption, once again, an assumption that your collection rate in the first quarter was not going to be 47.62, which was the tax collection rate in 2025. We don't have 2026 because we're doing it right now. So we won't know until August or September. But that 47.62 was the lowest that we've seen in the last 5 years. So if you raise that just marginally to 48%, it's still an assumption that if it doesn't come in, you'll have to attend to it. But if you do that at 4%, that's a net increase of $683,023. I've always said that on the levy worksheet, which some honorable people passed that too in 2004. A little change makes a big difference. Now, then you correspondingly, if you went to 4.5%, you can see that that's down in the corner. is $871,141. Now, you still have to keep in mind that we have a structurally unbalanced budget right now at 3% to the tune of $1.2 million. So, and we can go through, yeah, Sarah, let's go through the rest of them at 5%. At the same collection rate, that's $1,059,000 and change. 5.61 is there because, you know, that's kind of the number if you did all the debt service. That's why it's not 5.5. And that's 1,288,761. I think we got one more, right? And 6%, that would be 1,435,492. So if you wanted to completely get rid of the structural deficit, you have to be at somewhere in the vicinity of 5.6. It's not as linear as there are other assumptions, but at 5.6, you wouldn't give anybody a dime. All that money would go to removing the structural deficit, which is a good idea, right? Or you can, so let's go back to the 4%. So the 4% at 683 gives you an opportunity to at least chip away at it, right? So however you look at it, you have that 482 from revenue stabilization. We don't even know if we're going to have that. If the tax collection rate comes in at less than 47.62, we're not going to have that to spend, more than likely. If it comes in higher, we're going to have more than that to spend, but we're not going to know. So, at 4%, you have an availability there. I don't think it's a crazy assumption. I will tell you this, if it doesn't come in, it comes in at the 47.62, that rate would be 4.83. So if you wanted to risk 4%, in April, it might be 4.83. There's 3 blizzards, might be 7.83. I'm not really sure, but that's what you would be looking at. And so you can divvy up that 683. I know Dr. Thorne's numbers, 558. Do you get closer? Does the school department finish FY26 better than expected, and has a little bit to put towards it? Does the state come in and buffer that a little bit? All possibilities. Or you can, so it's there. It's there as you would like to do it. So I felt obligated to at least give you some options that could potentially ease some of the pain. And no one wants to cut. Really, no one wants to cut any job, right? We don't want to cut any job. And look, there is nothing to complain about for the lowest per pupil. I mean, as I was half joking last night, but I mean, we got to give you that one because you know what? It's unlikely to change. It would take a 40% levy increase to put you in the middle of the pack. I don't think anybody's going to approve that. I don't think anybody's going to vote for that first, but that's what it would take. So, and I think that the ordinance, the 3% rate cap, is the reason why. So some people would argue, well, it worked, and other people would argue that it has constraints. So, and I, like most things, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But the fact of the matter is, the school department's done a great job with the money that it has been given, and has earned the right to be uncomfortable with any cuts. I felt obligated to at least present them, and at least at the 4%, you are not going to have to go even ask the Department of Revenue at 4%. At 4.5%, that's not going to require, I don't believe, any General Assembly approval, but it would require DOR approval. But I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but we definitely fit into the exemptions. So I'll stop there if there's any questions.
Just quickly, Mayor, at that 4%, just hypothetically, how many jobs would that save, Superintendent?
Well, if you gave them all 683, it'd save all the 558 plus something else.
We're modeling a step 5 salaries. Each job is approximately $93,000, give or take, with medical and salary.
Thank you.
But I can tell you, Mr. President, we have to attend. You can't take all that 683 there, because all we're doing is we're just going to be back here. It's going to be worse. you need to cut the structural deficit down. So you have an opportunity there, you know, whichever way or no way, you may say no, but you know, you have an opportunity there, but you cannot, you can't make the problem worse. And if we leave those one-time revenues or those fund balances in there, you're not, we're not gonna be talking, you know, like I said up there, you're not gonna be talking about 4%. You're gonna be talking about 8%, 9%, 10%. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. There is no way around that, unless, you know, someone is coming up with a lot of money to save us. And that's my David Goggins quote, there's nobody coming to save us.
Thank you. Council Sweet.
Mr. Mayor, if you're able to do this off the top of your head, could you speak at all to how rising costs, specifically healthcare costs, which seem to be one of the biggest costs, are contributing to these problems? Because I want it to be clear to the people at home, other people, that this isn't just Cumberland wasting money. All of the costs that are going up for all of us in our personal lives or in our businesses are astronomically going up for municipalities, for schools. And that's a problem that we at the town level can't fully solve. And it's something that we need to be addressing with our state legislators, with people in Washington, because these costs are massive at this point. What was the increase in healthcare costs at the schools?
So I think the school's about eight and change. So the school opened the year with like $1.5 million fund balance in their healthcare accounts, and the town similar. And I think it's down to about $500,000 in the fund balance. So that precipitated an 8 to 10% raise in healthcare costs on the working rate. So between the town and the schools, it's over $1 million. And so when you think about that, 4% levy, this is what I mean about the math. I mean, 4% levy gets you $3 million rough. $1 million for healthcare, $1 million for debt service, and now you got $1 million for everything else. And I can tell you that, you know, every department behind me would like to have more personnel, has less personnel than, you know, protocol would say, every single one of them. So, you know, I kind of feel like, you know, I guess when we're all in the same boat, we're probably pretty close to getting it right. That's the only way I can look at it, because you know, the reality is that there is no way that you can put constraints of 4% with the rising cost and the voter approved bond. It is impossible to do that. We said that before, that, you know, every dollar that goes into the buildings is a dollar that doesn't go into teaching and learning, right? So, and I don't like to make comparisons, but if you look, is it East Greenwich is at like 7.8 after a 5.4. North Providence is at a 7.4. Warwick is at 4% for borrowing from 20 million from their OPEB to balance the budget. You know, I'm a politician, so I'll say, listen, if in an election year, if a politician has the 4% in their budget, probably more like 6. So, and everyone is in, and especially everyone that's building or took advantage of the school construction that was passed in 2018. Everybody is pretty much in the same boat as we are. So I don't know if that, I think I went off on a tangent there, but.
No, that was actually very good. I mean, this is obviously a pretty significant thing we have before us. It's how the town runs. It's how we take care of our schools. I also want to call out the folks at Town Hall. I think because it's a smaller group and they don't necessarily interact with as many people as our teachers, sometimes people forget just how much work they're doing. The EMS, police, everybody's underfunded. I think it's important to note that according to URI economists, we are currently in the state of Rhode Island in a recession that has been going on for quite some time. Things are tough everywhere. And so I would ideologically always lean toward more funding for schools, more funding for the town if we can make it work. But I'm also very aware of, you know, Food prices 29% higher since we had COVID. Gas prices up 28 to 43% around the country. And these are really affecting families. And the thing that I'll say is, if you are talking to people that live in the town, especially if we're talking about me, if it's someone in District 4, and they really want more taxes, because that's what we're asking for. That's what we're talking about. And we shouldn't be afraid to say that that's what we're looking for. We're looking for more taxes because that's the only place for the money to come from, except speed cameras in school zones, but I'll bother you about that later. And we need to probably have our taxes come up a bit, but I'm only hearing, except for one email from one parent today, that people want their taxes to go down. And I definitely understand that. And there is not an easy answer. I cannot have a vote where I get to give absolutely everybody everything they want. So we have to decide together, what do we do as a town? How do we move forward? And if we're only focused on, do taxes go up or stay the same or go down, then that's really not a plan for anything. Because nobody wants to pay more taxes. Nobody wants to buy new tires for their car, really. Nobody wants to pay for these things that we have to pay for just to keep moving forward. But if we do 3%, that's not necessarily a sound financial decision. That is kicking the problem down the line. Even at 4%, we're kicking the problem down the line. So if you're at home and you're watching this, or if you know somebody and they're thinking, the only thing that matters to me is that my taxes don't go up, then maybe have a little conversation with them if you're passionate the other way. And if you're talking to people that say, I understand that we need to pull together as a community and we all need to pay a little bit more, please feel free to have them reach out to any of us, to me. Our information is on the website, because I am not hearing enough from all of the people that are showing up in this room, the parents that are backing you up. And we need to hear that, because I do think a larger increase is important, but we need to hear it from the people we're asking to pay it too. We can't just foist it on to them. And we need to be very clear when we're standing up here saying things, what we're asking for is higher taxes. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's collectively, we all put in a little bit more money. And then hopefully we have better roads, better schools, whatever. But we need to be clear that that's what we're saying. There's not, I've been through every line of this budget. I did not find the secret slush fund of like $5 million to make all our dreams come true, even though I had dreams of that. So we need to get on the same page. And I know I would be more comfortable if I got to hear from some more residents that this was really important to them, because that's the buy-in you need. Otherwise, it's just, you know, we're going to be back here next year in the same place. If all we do is 3%, it's going to be even worse next year. It's going to be even worse the year after that. So we need to get some momentum to do a little bit more.
Yeah, Mr. President, the only thing I would say about that really, and it is a math problem, you know, and at the very heart of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you have to pay your obligations, and if your credit card bill is coming in as a debt service, you have to pay it. So, you know, I think I said it last night, either we're going to, you know, do it, or someone's gonna force you to do it, because the bill's not going down. There just isn't, it's just not going down. So it's one of those things, you know, the path to getting in a better place is to have all new revenue go into all new expenses. The sooner you do that, the better. The less strain on the cash, the less money we have to borrow is the less that we have to appropriate inside the general fund that doesn't have to go to borrowing, but can go to teaching and learning, can go to roads, can go to recycling bins. You know, so figured I'd drop that in. So, you know, it's just true, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilor Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, you know, thank you to the young adults that came to speak tonight. I've had the pleasure of seeing the two young ladies grow up from being yay high. And congratulations on your graduation, upcoming graduation. And thank you for everybody that showed up. It's been a few years since we had a turnout like this. And this year, compared to past years, we're very hyper-focused on this essentials. And unlike past years where we had such a large group, we actually have data to support why this program is important versus just a blanketed threat that things are going to be cut. And we should get everybody out to the town council meeting to discuss school programs, right? Because it's ultimately we're the funding source. And I get that. And I applaud you for doing that, because that is a community effort that you should be happening every year about certain things that go on in the community that you as an individual should be taking, interest in. So thank you for coming out in support of the essentials. I believe in the essentials program. I remember when it was rolled out, Mr. D'Amano standing in front of us, and, at the time we didn't know it was going to work, but we knew where the money was going to get put at it. And I had asked him to make sure a plan was in place to support that program when the funds were to go away, because we do have, as the mayor would put it, a math problem. And it's a self-imposed math problem. I mean, we're going back before I even moved into this town in 2000. That probably was the start of this self-imposed math problem, which led to the PPE being so underfunded. Probably because there wasn't this happening prior to me coming into this town at town council meetings. There wasn't healthcare costs. There wasn't recessions. There wasn't the dollar not being worth what it's worth. There's a lot of different factors. So as it relates to the essentials program, through this budgeting process, I can't say for sure that what my vote will be is going to save the program, because we don't make that choice. That is on the school committee to pass a budget to fund the positions. We fund the school committee, right? But I will tell you this tonight. Mayor said the little change makes a big difference. The one thing I hate about paying tax, the one thing less than, equal to, than paying taxes, because we all pay taxes, is knowing that there's a problem that's going to be a bigger problem, and you don't act on it, and you wait 2-3 years down the road, and like the mayor said, we have a double-digit levy increase, and now we've lost the time. We've lost the essentials program that could have, kept going and thriving. Heck, we have problems within the town that we need to fund, like water main breaks, like construction, capital improvements that we don't expect. And if we hide behind, I'm going to use that, hide behind this self-imposed 3% ordinance as a reason to vote for 3%. Well, we have a self-imposed. Well, we can go over it. The mayor said we can go over it. How far over it? I don't know. Obviously, we have some more discussions, more information to gather how far to go over it. But you have to talk about it, because that is a problem that we need to address. So I can say here for a fact that, and I called the mayor up this morning. I appreciated the meeting we had last night. Thankful, well, nobody was there. Ms. Goldstein, I appreciate you being there. But we had a nice conversation as far as what we're looking at. And I walked into his office last week with the intention of going over the levy as part of the conversation, because I am tired of sitting up here and knowing that, we have issues that need to be addressed. And this is a particular one that, I think is very strong. And I'm talking about the structural deficiency in the budget, because that's going to impact the big picture here. We're not just talking about let's get through today. If we just wanted to get through today, the comment was made, yeah, 3%, we pass it. We can get through today. But what does that look like tomorrow? What does that look like in the future? I'm not going to gamble with that. I think that anyone, and I appreciate Councilwoman Sweet saying this, as far as people wanting their taxes going down, ladies and gentlemen, if you educated yourself, you would know that we are one of the lowest rates in the state. And we did something for the first time this year, and that's do a split rate for commercial and residential. We have no homestead exemption, but yet we're getting by and we're thriving in this climate. We have other towns out there that have everything in the kitchen sink working already, and now they're hurting. We're not there yet. But if we take the little baby steps to knowing that what we have to prevent Armageddon, which ultimately, what will it be if the town council would vote a 10% levy increase? That would be Armageddon. When we know where we're at, then I can sit up here safely and say, I will not be voting for a 3% budget levy. I will not. I will not do that. So, and please, I appreciate the applause, but that's because it's what's right. We can be proud to pay a couple percent more taxes because we have stuff to show for it. We have great teachers in our schools. We have a great school committee making choices, making the tough choices. We've had a great council work in the past 6 years, because we're halfway through the 4th year term. You know, for the 10 years, we've been doing everything we can, I think, to support the schools. So, and I say that I'm not voting. This is why I didn't want you to clap. I say I'm not going to vote for a 3% cap because the problem is the budget for the town that we are passing. It's structurally not sustainable. So that's the bigger picture correction that we have to do. Now, in the discussions, if there's something that we can do to throw a bone to the schools because of that, to sort of help ease the burden of keeping the essentials program, then that's just the icing on the cake. But the big picture, big long-term thinking is, listen, vote for a levy that fixes the problem that we see before us so that we can get by this upcoming year. No new projects without new revenue. And if there's no new revenue, then we don't vote in new projects. And you have to hold your elected officials accountable to that because that's ultimately the problem, like the mayor pointed out. I mean, this stuff isn't just said as an excuse. This is stuff that should be taken to heart. And then maybe next year, we're in a better spot where now we can actually start creating more investments into things. So I know there's no vote today, and I wanted to say this earlier than later because I want people to ask questions. I'm talking to people tonight that didn't understand how the budget even works, and that's a problem. That's a problem. That one email that Councilwoman Sweet said, we all got it. I was on the phone with him 10 seconds later. He had no idea how the budget system works. We have to know how it works so that we can make the choices. We can understand when choices are made that it's for a bigger picture and it's not just for getting by today. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sorry to take up a lot of time.
Not at all. Thank you, Council. Any other comments from the council? Any questions of the mayor? Okay, with no further questions, I am going to close this public hearing. Again, there is no vote. The first one will be taken Monday and then Wednesday for the second and final. So I'm going to close this public hearing at 8:20 p.m. No, isn't it Tuesday, the first vote? Don't we have a vote Monday?
No.
No? Change?
Wednesday.
I'm sorry, the first one is Wednesday. I'm sorry, I apologize. First vote is Wednesday. We change. Thank you. Okay, so I got that said. I'm gonna just take a 5-minute recess for anybody who wants to leave. Welcome. Yeah. You're welcome. Everyone.
I don't, he doesn't care.
He's not feeling good?
No, I say he doesn't care. I already told him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, no kidding. All righty, thank you. The council's back in session after a brief recess. We're moving down our agenda. We are now at old business. We're ordinance 26-13, an ordinance establishing the operating budget for the town of Cumberland Sewer Fund for fiscal year 2026, 2027. I'm going to open the public hearing on this at 8:31. And I'm just going to read the line items into the record. Okay, this is for the operating budget fiscal year 2026, 27 is as follows for the sewer. So first, sewer, the revenues are 831,532. The expenditures proposed by the mayor at 831,532. Mayor, do you want to start on this or do you want me to go to the director?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I would just tell you, yes, if you have any specific questions, you can ask the Public Works Director. Clearly, this budget reflects the revenues at the previously approved rates. We are looking to make this eventually an enterprise fund, and to do so, we would need to have some sort of fund balance to make that happen. So it is previous years, it's been running, it ran a deficit, has been in the black for a little while, and knock on wood, it appears to be trending in the same way this year, but there's still some time left. But I would ask if you have any direct questions for Director Mendes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the director on the sewer budget? Any members of the public would like to comment on the sewer fund? Anybody joining us virtually on the sewer? All right, Director, thank you for coming. Yeah, so with that said, if there's no further comment, either virtually or with public, any comments from the council? Hearing none, I will close this public hearing at 8:33. And again, the first vote on this budget will be Wednesday. And I believe the following is this next Wednesday, week after, okay? Second hearings. Okay, so anyway, okay, good. We're moving on our agenda. We are now at ordinance 26-14. We have an ordinance establishing the operating budget for the town of Cumberland's Water Fund for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Again, the first hearing. This is the water fund for fiscal year 26-27. I'm going to open this public hearing at 8:33. Is anyone may have any question on the water fund, or is it?
If there are questions, we have members from the Water Department and Public Works in attendance.
Thank you. Any of the council have any questions?
Yeah, I'll,
Council Bradley.
Mr. Ray, realizing you're still new to the job, what are your needs going forward on pipe replacement?
Something that hasn't already been established in our capital improvement plan at a minimum. But we are seeking to try to move forward with attempting to fund infrastructure replacement, specifically in the Berkeley and Ashton area, in conjunction with the project that's currently going on, the Forestdale neighborhood, and the New Clark area. Those have all been called out in the capital improvement plan as far as the need for full replacements due to infrastructure conditions, age, and in addition to that, restoring the roadways in some of those areas after persistent breaks. The Mendon Road break situation that has plagued some of our summers here for the last few years. We're hoping to get the hydraulic modeling plan updates and conclusions from Woodland Current over the summer, so that we can try to move forward with a plan to enact some changes, improvements, replacements with data to support what those changes should be. But we recognize that's a need. Especially since I've been here, the Lipids area has been an area where we're looking to develop a plan for replacement. This budget year that we have put forth, I don't know that any of those projects are going to be able to be chased or funded within this year. I would really like to attempt to try to find a plan and a path forward similar to what the school department wants to do. Try to get to a place where we can actually start to chase and replace some of these problematic areas in town. At least in my time here, our finances have not aligned with trying to be in line with that capital improvement plan schedule that was in place before I got here, and I don't really think that we've done much updating to it. In fact, in my mind and on my desk, I feel as though we've only added to the need. Within this fiscal budget and conversations that I've had with Romeo Mendez, Public Works Director, one of the things that we are looking to try to begin on is the water meter replacement, which has been on the capital improvement plan. We've put forth a couple of proposals, at least to try to figure out a way to get it accomplished in the most affordable plan we can. The original add to the capital improvement plan included an installer being paid to do the install in a short period of time, but I believe that we can save probably a seven-figure sum over the course of the project by self-performing it with the staff that we have. It'll take a little bit longer for it to be accomplished, but I think it'll come at considerable cost savings, and obviously the outcome will be the same, just over a longer period of time. But that's one of the projects on that capital improvement plan that I plan on trying to act on at this time. As far as what our needs are from the funds, it's the rate increases that were approved last year, the year before. Those are still in effect, and those are, for the most part, serving their purpose to help us so that we can continue providing the service that we have at the rate that we do. Just similar to the way that the other public works departments were, the struggles with the winter, the struggle with water breaks, unexpected costs of all types, cost increases and the like, have driven us further into expenses than we anticipated. And we're hopeful that the cost increases and the adjustments to some of the budget line items are accounting for some of the changes that we've seen over the last few years, as well as we've been able to get some cost stabilization agreements in place, specifically with chemical providers. And we're looking to bid out some services with the water department that hasn't bid out in a while. Namely laboratory fees, potentially trying to work with some of the various emergency contractors that we have to get a on-call emergency contractor agreement in place to try to control some of those costs in the event of emergencies. But things like that, we're hoping to try to chase down to try to curb some of those cost expense overruns from unexpected changes, so that our budget can perform the way that it's planned. It's supposed to a little bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions for Mr. Bradley? Thank you so much. Does anyone in the audience again have any comments on this particular budget? Virtually? Okay. With that said, I'm going to close this public hearing at 8:40. And And now we are down to recreation, is that correct? Okay. Next item, we're at 2615. We have an ordinance establishing the operating budget for the town of Cumberland's Recreation Fund for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Going to open this public hearing at 8:40. I'm just going to read the line items. It's mayor proposed a revenue of 171,000. The expenditures are also 171,000. Does anybody have any questions on the recreation fund? Does anyone in the public would like to comment on the recreation fund? Anyone joining us virtually on recreation? Okay, seeing no comments on that, I'm going to close this public hearing at 8:41. And move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. Would anyone like to address the council on any topic? If so, just state your name and address for the record. Anyone joining us virtually for public comment? Next item on our agenda is adjournment. I'll take a motion to adjourn at 8:41. So moved by Councilor Shaw, second by Councilor Sweet. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned by a vote of 5-0.